What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today we're doing something a little bit different. We're going to be diving into a little bit of drama today. Recently there's been some controversy between Unknown Worlds and parent company KRAFTON regarding Subnautica 2. Some of you may have heard about it. And today we're going to be diving into a topic that seems to be a theme in the industry nowadays, regarding parent companies sort of screwing over their developers. And now I know the irony... I know the irony of me talking about this while playing an EA game, another company that shut down studios like Cliffhanger, who were in the process of developing an upcoming Black Panther game. I would have loved to see that. This is also a company that pretty much is screwing up the skate games. I've already talked about that. You can look at the homie James video talking about that. So again, I know the irony of me talking about KRAFTON and this whole controversy while playing this EA game from another multi-billion-dollar publishing company. So let's hop into it first before we start talking about the whole story here. And I have sort of the chronological gist of what's been going on with this whole controversy on my other monitor here. We're not going to be doing any story stuff in this game. I like to play this game to just like chill out. I do enjoy driving in this game, but to get into the controversy, what's really going on is Subnautica 2 by, who is it? Unknown Worlds. Now, this isn't a game I've ever played. I've never played Subnautica. I've known about it since its original release, but I've never really dived into it myself. I've heard the first game was great. It's developed by Unknown Worlds. And the second game, Subnautica 2, was supposed to come out last month. Obviously, that didn't happen. It was pushed back, and what happened was earlier this month, it's still the beginning of the month, KRAFTON replaced the Unknown Worlds pretty much studio executives with an executive of their own. They took out. Let me look into this. Let me pull over real quick. Let me pull over there because I'm trying to give you all the facts on this. I don't want to be blabbering. All right. So what it says here is earlier this month, KRAFTON replaced the Unknown World studio leadership Charlie Cleveland, Ted Gill, and Max McGuire with industry veteran Steve Papoutis. So they pretty much demoted all of Unknown World studio executives, pushed in their own guy. From what I heard, this guy has no recollection or, like, update of the actual situation at hand. This Steve Papoutis guy, who's now apparently the new head of Unknown Worlds, kind of doesn't make sense that he doesn't really know what's going on with the whole controversy. But what happened was, so they replaced the executives, put in their own guy, and now they're trying to delay Subnautica 2 to 2026 because they're initially they had promised a $250 million bonus payout to Unknown Worlds if they were able to finish Subnautica 2 in time, and so it was kind of just like a bonus that most studios would do, you know, or you know, most decent companies, kind of like a bonus, the end of year bonus, sort of like that. What happened was they now pushed Subnautica 2 to 2026. And this is kind of where the controversy stems from. Because a lot of people are now thinking it was to keep from paying the $250 million out to Unknown Worlds. Apparently, in the document, it said 90% of that payout would have gone to the studio execs anyway of Unknown Worlds. Even though the studio execs of Unknown World, who were the original creators of Subnautica, have gone on the record to say they wouldn't have done that anyway. Any prior instances of them being rewarded for something like this, they've always shared within the team. I assume that would have been the case with this. So that was all in the document. Yeah, it says here that they delayed Subnautica 2 to 2026. They also added that this would cause Unknown Worlds to lose a $250 million bonus linking to reaching a certain amount of revenue by the end of the year. So that's kind of what I was just going over. It goes on to say, the delay was subsequently confirmed, which we knew about. Obviously, it didn't come out last month, so that's obvious. KRAFTON claimed that it was not at all influenced by financial or contractual considerations. Now, this is, again, just KRAFTON's word against pretty much everyone else's. They're saying that their decision had nothing to do with financial or contractual obligations, any of that stuff. in most cases, guys, let's be honest, that's not entirely true. You can feel how you want about KRAFTON, but this is just how the industry works. Again, I'm playing an EA game. EA is known for acquiring companies and then shutting them down. Like, this is a theme of the industry in today's time, is that, like, you know, these multi-billion-dollar companies don't really think about anything other than money, finances, revenue. It's why games have shut down. It's why United Front's no longer around. It's why the skate game is coming out for the first time in 15 years. You know, so let's be honest. They look at that stuff. It's just how it is, and I get it, because you need to make money to stay in business, right? What it goes on to say is, shortly afterward, the Korean publisher attacked the former leadership directly, stating that they had abandoned their responsibilities and caused the game to slip. For example, they said Charlie Cleven, former executive of Unknown Worlds, focused on a personal film project of his instead of working on the game. Now, this is possibly true, and sure, I would agree with KRAFTON in this case. You know, if you have a contractual obligation, multi-million dollars on the table, you'd think you'd just be focusing on getting that out, right? You know, not focusing on side ventures or whatever. If you have $250 million on the table, pretty much sort of guaranteed to you and your company, you would just focus on that, right? So I can understand KRAFTON's argue with that. It then goes on to say that the studio leads would have allegedly received 90% of that $250 million bonus. I already mentioned that, again, this is their word against everyone else's. This is a lot of he said, she said. The Unknown Worlds execs pretty much say they would not have, you know, taken that money for themselves. They would have shared it with the team. So again, this is he said, she said. It goes on to then say that a Reddit user leaked an internal KRAFTON document that shows exactly why the publisher didn't want the game to launch. In the current state, Subnautica 2 lacked the level of polish and market impact required to drive IP growth and expansion. The document also adds that content was removed from the original plan for the early access launch, such as 2 biomes, 1 type of Leviathan, certain creatures, severe tools, about 6 hours of narrative story content, and even the character customization feature. Okay, so now KRAFTON is saying the game wasn't ready for this year because there were a bunch of features from the game that was removed. And my question is, why was it removed? Okay, because this, I feel like, is now a big factor in this whole controversy. The game wasn't ready mainly because what it's sounding like is because a lot of features from the game was removed and it just wasn't ready to put out there. My question is, who removed it? Who made the call to remove the content? Was it KRAFTON? Was it Unknown Worlds? Because if it was KRAFTON, you can argue that they deleted this content to push the release date back of the game to keep from paying out $250 million. And a lot of people will be like, well, why would they do that? Why would they, like, try sabotaging their own game? It could be because maybe they truthfully didn't think it was good enough to put in the game. Maybe they didn't think the consumer would be attracted enough to purchase the game from this. But it's also not wrong to say that $250 million is a lot of money. That, you know, many people would not just willingly give up, even if it was in some sort of contract. You know, there are Hollywood-level movies that don't even rake in $250 million in box office, so it's not like some pocket change type of money. So again, my question is, like, why was it removed? Who made the call to remove it? You know, I would like, again, this is a developing story as well, so I'm sure we'll get more information as time goes on. And that actually leads me into my next argument, is not even an argument, I guess development of this story. And by the way, I'm getting all of this information from WCCF Tech. I will link the article in the description, just so you guys know where I'm citing my sources from. Some of this could be wrong, This is from what I've heard from other sources online, what I've looked up. So this is just the information I'm getting. It could develop, it could change over time, so we'll see. So to add on to that point of not enough features and, you know, whatever else, quality of life, content, overall content being in the game, it says here, KRAFTON highlighted that the current version of Subnautica 2 wouldn't make users happy, thus the need for the delay to add more content and polish before making the game available to the public. It seems that maybe KRAFTON were the ones to take out some of this content, and then they're all saying the current version of the game wouldn't make users happy. Again, like, it's like, so then why, if the current version of the game wouldn't make people happy, if it doesn't have enough content, why did you take all the content out of the game to begin with? It seemed like there was content that would have made people happy. Leviathan creatures, story content, you know, added areas. So, like, this stuff that you would want in, like, a sequel game. Why take it out if that's the case? It goes on to say the former Unknown Worlds executives aren't taking those accusations lying down. So now this is where the story really develops, and this information is kind of breaking because as far as I know, this part of this controversy was released this morning. This is why it's still a developing story. I'm sure there will be more information that comes out to the public. It says the Unknown Worlds executives aren't taking this laying down. Charlie Cleveland actually went on to Reddit. Charlie Cleveland, one of the executives of Unknown Worlds, or at least former executive before KRAFTON pushed him out with this new guy. He's saying that we've now filed a lawsuit against KRAFTON. The details should eventually become public. You all deserve the full story. So this is me quoting him, quoting his post, his Reddit post. It says, you all deserve the full story. Suing a multi-billion-dollar company in a painful, public, and possibly protracted way was certainly not on my bucket list, but this needs to be made right. Subnautica has been my life's work, and I would never willingly abandon it or the amazing team that has poured their hearts into it. So this seems like it's coming from, like, a genuine part of him, and he's valid in saying this. Why would he sabotage a game that he created? He created this IP. KRAFTON essentially just purchased him out. As far as I know, and I could be wrong on this, so just take this part with a grain of salt, Subnautica was originally an indie game before it got bought out by KRAFTON. So I can truthfully understand where he's coming from when he says it's his life's work, it's his baby, right? I mean, he spent years, and I'm pretty sure possibly even over a decade working on this IP. Why would he sabotage it like this? And right now, as someone who has had bad luck with corporations personally, I'm personally going to stand with Unknown Worlds and the developing team. I don't know who... I don't mean to be mean. I don't know who in the right mind would stand with a multi-billion-dollar corporation, especially in this day and age when there's just time and time again of studios getting shut down, screwed over. And again, this is why we're in the day and age where indie games are becoming more popular. Obviously, Expedition 33 is coming out. Schedule 1 came out. Both very different in their own rights, but both hugely popular as well. So this is the developing story. My 2 cents is, again, sort of what I was just saying. In this day and age, it's hard to side with billion-dollar corporations like this, especially when you have studios like the studios that made Lies of P. I briefly saw something online a bit ago that the studio behind Lines of P are rewarding their staff with like $7,500 bonus. They get a Switch 2 weeks of like paid vacation. For reaching like a certain landmark. I think it was like 3 or 3.5 million units sold of the game, which you know, great for them. That's huge, because again, I'm pretty sure that was an independent studio that created that game. It ended up being a great Souls-like game. So there are studios out there like that, but that's the point. It's like there are studios out there like that are willing to... Oh, there we go. Dude, I'm not gonna lie, I haven't played this game in a hot minute, so I'm forgetting some of the controls. I'm just trying to drift around some of these. But again, there are studios and agencies out there that are willing to reward their company, their staff. So why isn't that more common? You know, and it's because these billion-dollar corporations stay rich by being, you know, tightwads. Essentially, that's just how it is. It's why they've canceled, shut down studios that don't make in as much as they want, you know, regardless of whether that game is great or not. Again, United Front got shut down by Square Enix. For whatever reason. Like, I'm only bringing this up because I recently just got done playing Sleeping Dog. That game will probably never get a sequel, even though it was amazing, because it didn't do the numbers that maybe it promised for whatever reason. It doesn't matter if a game's good anymore. If it's not making the money, the studio is going to shut it down. That's just how it is. So there's history of these publishing parent companies essentially just taking over and putting their hands in pies where they shouldn't be, essentially. It's good to see, again, that there are companies like the people that made... I wish I knew the name of the company that made Lies of P. I'll put it on the screen so you guys know, but it's good that there are companies out there still like that. I wish it were more common. It's not, but it is what it is. And so I felt like I just needed a talk on this as kind of like someone that works in a similar industry as well. I've again had issues working with, I'm not gonna say who, but like big companies out there, like people that you guys like know of, multi-billion-dollar studios that they don't care about your time and effort. I've had instances doing posters for movies and television where a client will come back at the end of the day, 6 p.m. They'll be like, we need these revisions done at 8 p.m. They don't respect your time. They don't respect your efforts. They're worried about what makes them money. That's the deal at the end of the day, and that's just how it is. No matter how you want to stand on it, that's the reality. And to add on to that, and this is something that me and James actually pinpointed on during the it wasn't the Game Awards, Summer Game Fest, regarding Expedition 33. All of those guys used to work at Ubisoft, pretty much, until they quit and just made a banger of a game themselves, and that game did wonderfully, and I love to see that. I wish there were more instances like that, and to his credit, James mentioned that there will probably be more instances of like that in the future, especially with, again, studios getting shut down, studios not being respected for their efforts and time. So, again, that's just the reality. I wish it were any different, but I thought I would just sit down and kind of touch on this topic. Again, it's a developing story, so I'm sure things will come out and you know, details will change. This is sort of what I'm just going off of, the information I have on hand. But I also just felt like this stuff is important to talk about it, even though it is kind of depressing, because we live in a day and age where it's like you need to bring like this to light, you know, to bring more eyes on the bullshit that's going on in the industry. So, you know, I sort of had like I sort of felt obligated. I sort of just felt encouraged to talk about this. And again, it's a developing story. Apparently, it's going to be going to court. It looks like Unknown Worlds executives are suing KRAFTON for what they're doing. But yeah, if you guys are interested in sort of content like this, where I just sit down and just kind of play a chill game like this, nothing really going on. I mean, I've been shitting the bed as far as driving goes. I haven't played this game in a hot minute. How do I drift? Oh, is that it? Wait, hold on. Now I gotta get a couple of good lines in for you guys. But yeah, I sort of just felt encouraged as someone that dabbles in the industry. I have friends that are developers that have came from these billion-dollar corporations, Ubisoft, and have quit, moved on to work for independent studios that are putting out, you know, great games through independent studios. And from what it seems, they are much happier doing that than working for, like, bigwigs. Like, you know, EA, even though I'm playing an EA game right now, Ubisoft, whoever it is. Like, you're not safe. You're not safe. It doesn't matter who you are, you're not safe. Especially if you're not making, you know, these studios what they're expecting, what they projected their sales to be. So again, that's just the reality of the situation. Let me see if I can get a nice little drift before we end this. That was pretty mid, to be honest. That was decent. That was decent. I was trying to do something on the highway, but it is what it is. Anyways, guys, if you are interested in these types of videos where I just sit down and talk about stuff that's going on in the industry, make sure to like, comment, subscribe, tell a friend to help the channel grow. It helps tremendously. I love putting out videos like this where I just kind of touch on stuff that's going on within the industry, instead of just kind of, instead of just doing like full playthrough of games, because I do enjoy that. But those are commitments as well, where you know, if I'm starting a game, I gotta be prepared to sit down for 20, 30 hours and finish that game. Then it gets broken up into a dozen or so parts. And again, it's just, the reality is, like, people don't want to, people aren't willing and committed enough to sit down for whole playthroughs. That's just, you know, the landscape of YouTube right now. So I do enjoy putting out videos like this. During the as of the recording too, I do have a trailer reaction coming out today in a few hours for Intergalactic: The Heretic Prophet. I'm very excited for that to come up. If there are any other trailers that you guys would like for me to react to, make sure to comment below. I'd love to touch on them. Put in my kind of 2 cents as an art director. If I have like any sort of like creative input, see what I can kind of throw out and, you know, put my insights on. Again, videos like this, where I just play, like, sort of like a chiller game like this, whether it's this, Minecraft, Skater XL, something where I can just, like, sit down and touch on a topic like this. Yeah, let me know if you guys are interested in stuff like this. Hope you enjoyed the video. I got more stuff coming out soon that I'm very excited for you guys to see. If you would like this uncut and early, because I probably will be chopping this up a bit just to dim it down for YouTube, you can find this on the Patreon. Link for that will be in the description. But yeah, until next time, guys, you take it easy. Bye-bye.